All right, hey, welcome. This is the Genesee County Compassion Club show coming to you live today from the Flint Talk Radio studios, broadcasting to you on Ustream.tv. Got John in the studio with me. It's a gloomy day out there.
Yeah, it's kind of like overcast, muggy.
It's hot and humid, I'll tell you that.
And it doesn't look like when you first get out, then you get to walk in that sun, and then you start sweating. It's just
Yeah, don't sit in your car, I'll tell you that. All right, we got medical marijuana news and information for you. We got some information as far as what's going down at the Genesee County Compassion Club. We've got some information on the events happening there, let you know what's going on. And man, it's been a busy week, I'll tell you that. The end of summer is here, and it is going to be over with before you know it, that's for sure. We're getting a few warm days here, but I think it's going to be starting to cool off real soon. So I don't know, man. This summer has flown by, that's for sure. We've had a lot of fun events in the county, a lot of fun events down at the Compassion Club, so we hope that you've been able to get out there. We had Back to the Bricks last weekend. Did you guys get out there for that one? John, did you see any special things at the downtown area?
You know, by the time I got downtown, I guess they enforced a curfew. They had some celebrations going on downtown Flint.
John, you're over 18. You don't have to worry about the curfew.
You know, no, but the thing is, by the time I got downtown, I was supposed to meet some friends on the Torch. And I guess the bulk of that stuff went on in Grand Blanc or some other place this year because they had too many issues or something downtown the year before. That's what it is. They always got to sabotage anything that's going on.
So they sabotage the downtown area, man?
It's like it does. It puts it, let's face it, they take a hit. You know, the local merchants.
Sure.
Yeah, the local bars take a hit.
So Back to the Bricks isn't really on the bricks.
It's like everything else though. Like, Davison now's got their own farmers market.
Oh yeah.
And it's like they're trying to emulate everything. They hate us, or they seem to, but they want to emulate everything we do.
Well, it's a big county. You can spread things out a little.
Yeah, I don't have a real big issue with it, but I just say, why didn't they have a farmers market before in Davison? I mean, I guess they had a fledgling one, but not as big as one they got now.
Yeah.
Grand Blanc, I don't even bother going that one. That's too small for me to even be of interest.
I'll tell you what, for people that are going out, it's coming from out of town, whatever, the Davison one's got the Flint market beat hands down. Davison one's right off the highway.
Right.
I mean, boom, you're right there.
That's what we used to have it here, but they had to move it and they had to put it in downtown. I fought it. I mean,
yeah.
I got friends who work there and have the places there, and I fought vehemently with them, and it almost came to blows, but almost came to us not even talking anymore.
Yeah.
It's okay, move it. You'll see what happens. And that is what it is. And
it's kind of tough to get to, I'll tell you.
I think it is, and besides now it's so convoluted. And then now they said we got plenty of parking space. Well, you do now, but when that building that's next to yours, that adjacent, you'll be sharing space at the medical campus for Michigan State. University.
For U of M?
No, Michigan State.
Oh, okay.
Michigan State's medical campus is in the old Journal building.
Ah.
So there goes 50, 100 spots right there. What they're trying to do is force people to pay for parking.
Ah.
Because they want that revenue.
You think so?
They want your quarters.
Well, either way, I mean, both farmers markets are pretty nice. They're both brand new, obviously, so it's pretty cool. But anyway, we got some good stuff happening. We've got upcoming events at the club I want to share with you guys, let you know what's happening. We've got our soup kitchen coming up. I got one of our volunteer shirts on. These things are sweet. On the back it says "Soup is served," courtesy of Matt Bernash. Thank you, Mr. Bernash. I love it. And I'm looking forward to getting out to the next soup kitchen. That's coming up here the first Friday in September. So just a couple weeks out from now. Mark your calendars if you could. We'll be serving down at the North End Soup Kitchen here in Flint off of Stewart Avenue. We usually meet at the club at about 2 p.m. and we're hoping to see some new faces out there this week. If you guys could dedicate just a portion of your afternoon, like I said, first Friday in September, we'd really love to see you out there and help us serve out to the needy people in Flint. It's a pleasure to do so and you get fed. So hopefully you guys can join us this first Friday of September. Other events that we got coming up here, we've got a golf outing coming up here real soon. This is on the 25th of August, and it's going to be out in Swartz Creek. You guys can sign up for the golf scramble. I believe it's a scramble. And you guys can sign up for that up at the snack bar. George Hernandez, I know he'll hook you up, or anybody else that's working at the snack bar would be glad to sign you up. But it should be a fun event. We did this last year, and I think this year is going to be an even bigger turnout. We've had a lot of people take interest, and I'm planning on trying to make it. It should be a fun event. Golf scramble out at Swartz Creek. So mark that down, August 25th. And next big event that we've got coming up at the club is, we got a call. Hello. special guest calling in. This is something we want to talk about. We'll get back to our announcements here in a little bit after we get done with our caller. This is kind of cool. So you guys hang with me. Check this out. If I believe this is the right person calling. All right. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Is this Mitchell?
This is Mitchell.
How you doing, sir?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
Hey, great. Thanks for calling into the Compassion Club show. We'd love to have you on. John was telling me here in the studio you got some music you might want to be sharing with us. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I wrote a song called Mary Jane is a Friend of Mine, and it's pretty obvious connotations there, but kind of a little rock song. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Sgt. Pepper at the beginning, and then the folks are telling me it's maybe a little bit of Fleetwood Mac and Tom Petty in there. So I'd rather the listeners decide than me tell it, though.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, guys, we're going to have you check this out with us, if you would. John's going to pull it up here. We want to play this video for you. It's on YouTube. It's called Mary Jane is a Friend of Mine. And again, this is from Mitchell Rickey. Did I say that right, Mitchell?
That's correct.
All right, fantastic. Let's play the music, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Guys, check this out.
Okay.
Could you hear that or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because I was wondering if it went out because my speakers, my mic mixer was. I got two mic mixers working, and sometimes they switch over when I start up the program. And so I was like seeing it here, but I wasn't seeing it over here. So if we want to, towards the end of the show, we'll wrap it up. We'll play it the other way too. So
all right.
Up as we wrap up. But anyway, go on. So thank you very much, though. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mitchell. That was great.
Well, thank you so much.
Definitely.
I really appreciate that. Can you tell me something about what you guys have been doing?
Well, we're open 5 days a week, and so we're always busy. It's a community of people come together, They're all Michigan medical marijuana card holders. And it's a great place. You can meet other patients and caregivers there, get yourself a cup of coffee, hang out and relax. And, we've got a lot of great friends in the club, big music lovers especially. So it'd be a great place. You have to come up and visit us.
I'd love to. I'm a card holder. Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah, we couldn't tell by your song at all.
Well, that's the latest one I've written. I'm working on another one right now that's kind of same church, different pew, but it won't be done for a little while. But yeah, I'm just an unemployed, struggling songwriter, trying to make an impact and spread a message that I think is long overdue.
Absolutely. Well, we really appreciate it. I could definitely hear a little bit of the Beatles twinge to it, maybe a little bit of Tom Petty.
A little bit of, I could see the Fleetwood Mac. I could definitely hear
that. That was cool.
Well, that's what someone told me. I had never heard that. I'm really influenced by the classic rock genre because that's my age group. So, yeah, I like it a lot. We don't really even have a band. I've got Heather Baker, that's the female vocalist, that's outstanding vocalist. A guy I've never met, Perry Danos, is the other vocalist. So we just exchange files over the internet. And Bobby Myers is my drummer. He also drums for a group called The Infatuations. And then it's just me on the guitars and the keyboards and so forth. So
very cool.
Not really a band. So you'll never get to see us live. We never get to play it live. But I'm really kind of hoping to catch some rock stars' ears, and who knows, Kid Rock would be my ultimate to record that song. I think he'd do an awesome job. But that's just kind of let's call it a pipe dream, guys.
Right on. Well, get it out there, man. Well, we're glad to share your song with our viewers. It's certainly a pleasure to have you on the show, Mitchell. We appreciate it. And if you get some new stuff out, give us a ring, and we'll definitely like to feature it again.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much. You guys are fantastic. I wish you all the luck in the world, and you guys have a great day.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mitchell.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Cool. Very cool. Like I said, we got a big membership there. I think we're over 11,000 members now, and we do have quite a few different musically inclined members, if you will. There's a number of bands out there that we have, like just recently, Tobe Step, a former co-host here, a co-host on the show. He was performing with his band, 50 Pound Sound, over at Happy Harvesters in Burton just this last week. And
okay.
Also,
right on.
One of our members, Justin from Fall of Us, he's the lead singer of that band, who's also performing out there with them as well. And also, I'll mention, I think there's some upcoming shows coming up here soon with, well, I have to get back with you on that. It's slipping my mind at the moment. Cool.
By all means, do so.
Yeah. Thanks, Mitchell. Appreciate it.
Hey, man, guys, I really appreciate it a lot. Love to talk to you again anytime. It's cool. And thank you so much.
All right. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Cool. All right. Just wanted to share that with you. He was calling in at a certain time. I know we got off subject there from our weekly announcements and so on, but it's cool to always share music, and we get a whole different big group of people out there with different musical styles. So, hey, if you want to share your music, let me know. I'll put it on the show. We'll play it. We'll jam to it. John likes music.
Yeah, I like music, and that's something that it definitely does. I mean, actually, maybe this sounds really weird, but also I can hear like the harmonization part, like a little bit like ABBA, the ABBA songs.
Oh yeah.
Songs, yeah. So, but there's a guy named Michael J. Ahern who's still in music, and he teaches music out in California, and he sent me a CD of his, and one of the tracks on that particular CD, Mick Fleetwood, Fleetwood from Fleetwood Mac. Was played drums on one track.
Oh, cool.
So this guy's like really, he knew the people like Huey Lewis and the News and all that.
Right on.
For some reason, we never materialized an interview with him, but I know he's on board for medical marijuana and stuff like that too.
I'm sure a lot of artists are.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right, getting back to our announcements, I wanted to make sure I mentioned this. It's not for a little bit, but I want to let you guys know because you're going to need to plan in advance. This is G3C. We're doing it up on October 18th. We're doing our annual chili cook-off, which is always a big fun thing. But on top of the cook-off, we're also doing our G3C Cannabis Cup. So we're going to be actually testing the samples, finding out who's got the best of the best. There'll be different categories and obviously prizes for the winners and so on. But really just being one of the top people would be prize enough. We got a lot of competition in the club, a lot of patients and caregivers out there doing their own thing, and this is going to give you the opportunity to show it off. So mark that on your calendars, October 18th. You can practice whipping up your favorite batch of chili, of course. We want to have that entered in. It's always a pleasure to see the culinary skills in our club. They're quite amazing. And on top of that, we'll see your cannabis skills. So get in the garden and get your work done. You're going to want to make sure everything's prim, proper, ready to go, the best you've ever done in your life. And then we're going to test it out on the 18th of October. So I'm looking forward to that. You guys, I'm sure, are going to be pumped, and I want to see who's going to win. The coolest thing I think about this, other than being able to do this in the first place, but the next thing is I think that the fact that we're going to have it be tested. That to me is just the factor, the key factor, and I'm excited to see what the results are going to be. I mean, I'm thinking that we're going to have some out-of-this-world results, not only in flower form, but in other forms as well. So keep your calendars marked for that. Speaking of testing, I had asked Sean, he's our man in the lab, our lab technician over there at the G3C Labs getting it done. I asked him to give me some info if there was anything special on any test samples that have been done in the past week or so. And so he did. He gave me some interesting results here. I want to share these with you. These are some of the flowers that were submitted from the club just this last week. And actually, I think it was today. This is today's entry. The highest was an OG Kush. It tested out at 19.23% THC. 19.23. Had also 0.49 CBDs and 0.27 CBNs. So almost 20% total. Extremely high test results. That's again an OG Kush that was just tested today in the labs. So congrats to whoever that caregiver was. I don't have the name. I kind of wish I could give you props for your awesome results here. But maybe you could give yourself a shout out. If you're in the club, you can hear this. Raise your arms. Give yourself a pat on the back. It's killer results. And save a nug for me.
See, when I first started, doing the show with you guys, anybody could grow weed, because everybody I knew had a grow operation, in the closet or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when I saw that, we got that book, Jorge Cervantes' book, and then I saw all the other factors and heard you guys talking, and went, man, these guys put a lot of effort into growing marijuana.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of effort. Sure
is, and I guarantee you, whoever this caregiver was that put up these results put in a ton of effort as well. Almost 20%. It's just sky high. And when you see other dispensaries and collectives around the world, whether they be in Amsterdam or out in California or even Colorado, once you start getting above 16, 17%, now you're getting into the highest cannabinoid content for flowers that there are. You're talking the top of the top. And you got to realize that the cannabis that was going out in the 60s and 70s, the stuff that they were talking about back then was, anywhere from 4 to 7%. It's extremely low. So to be able to produce these kind of results definitely is a testament to the fortitude of the gardeners you're talking about, John. The testament to the work that they're putting in, and also the development of cannabis cultivation as we've seen throughout the years. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it now than even 10 years ago. So it's pretty cool. Thanks, Sean, for getting those results to me, and I appreciate that. Loving being able to share this kind of information on the show. I think it's spectacular. I mean, that's just awesome. Awesome results.
Another thing is, too, doing this actually puts to rest a lot of the fears and oppositions I've had from the anti-marijuana people. They say, well, anybody could be, you could be growing that in fertilizer that's like commercial grade, and you're passing on all these chemicals to the end user, and that's dangerous. And I try to inform them. I said, well, the Compassion Club, Genesee County Compassion Club, encourages, and they have a testing facility now, so that's not going to be really an issue for them. So I mean, it just goes a further step to put us to rest a lot of this. Obviously, it's potential for hysteria, So I think that's a
absolutely.
Good step.
Nonsense, John. Tell him. All right, I got some news from around the world for you. I want to share with you this week. Just some stuff that I've collected from the web. This here's from LeafScience.com. You can check it out yourself if you like. It's cannabis edibles ban struck down by the BC court. So if you weren't aware of the cannabis program up there in Canada, Health Canada, obviously, it does provide so that people can get access to medical marijuana if they need it. One of the things that they had in the program that was unfortunate is that they only provided medication to patients in the form of flowers. Absolutely no other form of medication was allowed or was being provided at all through the program in Health Canada. So this is a ruling that is recently changing that. And it was on Thursday in British Columbia, the highest court there ruled that the government's ban on marijuana products violates the Constitution by restricting access to non-smoked forms of medical marijuana. It says here the court wrote, "The provision is arbitrary and cannot be justified in a free and democratic society," wrote the court. So it's pretty cool. It says the ruling here gives the government a year to revise the law to allow patients access to marijuana-based foods and extracts. And since it was legal in 2001, federal law only permitted the sale and production of dried marijuana. So that's pretty cool. Good for Canada, good for the patients out there to be able to access it in other forms, obviously. I mean, only being able to get it in flower form is not the preference for a lot of people out there. So that's good stuff. Now, if you're not already aware, in order to be a provider in Canada, now it has to be through a licensed production facility. So they're trying to derail the caregiver system up there. It's still in court being battled. However, currently, that's kind of the way that it's going. So at any rate, looks like those companies will now be able to start busting out maybe some cookies or other forms, whatever.
Do you think that might be positive? The whole movement up there to eliminate basically like the caregiver or the grower, the average grower. Do you think it's because of the socialized medicine they have in Canada? It might be because the state's paying for, the government's paying for.
I honestly, I think that's just big corporations trying to do their best to eliminate competition. The majority of the people out there, you've had a program in Canada for over 10 years now, and a lot of obviously caregivers out there were the only option for quite some time that provided medication to patients. And then all of a sudden you see Canada come up with, okay, well, let's go ahead and license production facilities, ones that we will license, ones that we will regulate and inspect, and so on and so forth. And so they went with this other model, and in the same step said, well, we're going to do away with the previous one. So no, I see that as like a grab by the corporations up there in Canada to sort of manipulate the market, take it out of the hands of the people. And I think it's something that should be overturned. It's currently being fought in court. We don't have an answer yet for the folks in Canada, but hopefully it will go in the favor of freedom. You know what I mean? I mean, good grief. Here it is, something that people can provide for themselves, and they're saying, well, no, we'll allow you access, but you can only get it from these sources. I think that's just ridiculous, especially if you have patients out there. I mean, look at the current system right now. You're a patient, you want something else besides dried flowers, you can't get it. So the only way to do that would be able to process it yourself, or possibly take the dried flowers you're receiving from said provider and then process it into something else, something that would be usable for yourself. And of course, you shouldn't have to do that if you're the patient. A lot of patients don't have that ability. And so this is something that they should be able to get from a caregiver, or, again, provide it on their own. But at any rate, different kind of system up there. I certainly don't want to see that be emulated here in Michigan. We don't need to have that. I know that there's obviously a lot of different corporate interest in Michigan that like to get their digs on the industry, if you will. But I think that we should continue to maintain that caregivers really are the best option, because they're going to be the most in tune with their patients' needs. They got one-on-one contact, a lot more frequently, obviously, than you're going to see with other types of situations, and you have that feedback that can be, utilized in a caregiver's processes, so that the patient receives exactly what it is that they need, and make sure that their needs are being met. That's the most important thing about this in the first place.
Okay, let me ask you a question in that same vein. I mean, the average, caregiver, how many strains will they just keep on with one strain, or are there several of them that have several available to their patients? We see a lot of variations, especially at the club, John, with caregivers and patients. Some do just stick with one or two strains. They know that works well for their garden or for their environment that they're working with, and that may be one of the factors. Maybe it's just that that particular strain is the one that always works for them. But typically we see people harvesting or cultivating multiple different types of strains, simply because they need to have that different type of variety for their medicinal purposes. And the way that strains work can vary so greatly that oftentimes you will have patients need to have
different types of strains, throughout their daily processes. So a lot of times you will see variety in a garden, and it can be more difficult to work with as a gardener, and certainly trying to deal with each strain's own unique characteristics. How fast they're going to go into flower, or how much they'll stretch, or how sensitive they are to certain types of nutrient regimens, so on and so forth. All of these things have to be learned, and they're going to be responded to the environment that they're in. So if I take a plant in your garden and learn to work with it in that environment, and then pull it out and put it in my garden, you're going to see that it's going to most likely have different types of growing characteristics exhibited just because of the change in environment. And no two gardens are the same. You're going to have different fluctuations in humidity, temperature, the amount of lumens that are present there, so on and so forth. All of these things are going to make a tremendous difference in the way that strain grows, and affecting that strain throughout its entire life cycle. Each stage can have an outcome, a different type of outcome. So that's something else to consider. But like I said, most people are going to have variety in their garden. They're going to have a few different strains that they're working with. Some of the caregivers out there that I know that do only keep one or two strains will oftentimes, take some of those strains and then trade it with other caregivers so that they can have a variety for their patients. So, maybe they're an expert at one particular type of cannabis strain, and so that's all that they produce. Maybe that's what works best in their garden for them. So they'll produce that and then take some of that and simply trade, even amounts, so that their patients can have access, or they themselves can have access to, like I said, the variety that oftentimes is not only desired but actually required. I mean, the different types of effects that are felt from medical marijuana, they have a huge variance, and a lot of times you'll have patients that will have multiple different types of symptoms that they're treating themselves for, and so they need to have a strain for each one of those types of symptoms, or maybe they have a strain that will take care of a couple things here, and then they have a different strain for a couple other types of things. But it can be a difficult thing. I think most people are going to want variety, and that's why we're talking about Health Canada and how they work. They send out their patient the X amount of cannabis each month, and they're producing large amounts of certain types of strains. Not a lot of variety there for the patients to work with. I think that is it's a bad thing. I mean, it may not be necessarily meeting that patient's needs, and they don't have the ability to have access to other types of strains to see if something else would actually work for them. So
another thing there's too, like a lot of people who are the antis again will say like, well, that's okay. They just should produce this stuff and put it in a pill form, and that just boggles my mind why they're so insistent upon that. And then they say, well, these people are just using it to get high. And I said, well, look, if it's got an effect, and if there's a lot of medicine is actually a faith in having that medicine is going to have efficacy, and so if they're thinking that's going to work for them, and it does in fact help them with the condition, then how's that any different than the regular quote unquote traditional medicine approach?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's it for that. I just want to get over that. There's another story here I wanted to share with you. This is from Michigan. We'll get out of Canada and come back home here for a little bit. But this isn't necessarily positive news. This is unfortunately about a raid that occurred in Wexford County on Tuesday. State police there, looks like they nabbed a marijuana dispensary. It was called Magic Buds Medical Cannabis. It was a store in Wexford County. The police took cash, patients' records, along with their stock of cannabis. The raid came after a judge ordered the shop to close last month for operating against the state laws, and the shop continued to operate in defiance of the Supreme Court ruling made this last year. So there's comments here. It says Wexford County Prosecutor Tony Badovinac, probably not saying that right, but Tony Badovinac, he's the prosecutor. He issued the cease and desist letter last month, and now he will decide whether or not to proceed with charges. But at any rate, the raid was conducted, and it looks like it's not going well there. So that's up in northern Michigan, I guess, in Wexford County.
Yeah, that's up in Mesa, Cadillac area. I think that's in that. Those cities are near that.
Okay.
I think that's at Wexford County. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, looks like he probably should have done something about that cease and desist order.
Just that. But then again, I mean, you think you got it settled. I mean, look, we've had personal friends that had that. They comply with the law, and then they get something started, and somebody throws another curve at them. So I mean, it shouldn't be intimidation to the point. That was an intimidation thing. I mean, That's all this is. And that's my opinion. That's all it is.
Yeah, it probably could have been worked out on a local level, and that's probably the best route to have happened. I mean, it was already at a county level, obviously, if this county prosecutor issued a cease and desist order. A lot of times these matters can be handled in a civil manner rather than going to court. So it's unfortunate. There's been a lot of different busts or raids, if you will, up in that area of the state, Traverse City, Cadillac area. So they're certainly not friendly to patients and caregivers' needs up there. And hopefully with some cooperation there, they can come up with something that the patients can rely on in that area. So unfortunately, they're bad news for that. All right, moving on here. I got some information for you. This is for you fans out there that like to go to Vegas. I don't know why else you'd go to Nevada. Is there any other reason to go to Nevada? We got some salt flat racers out there.
Front sight gun sight out there. It's a training center for firearms training.
Oh, okay.
50 miles outside of Vegas, so that's about the reason why I'd go out there for.
All right, I'd go to see the pawn store.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I had a friend that lived in Vegas. So the guy who lived in Vegas for 12 years of his life. He said, you can't even get in that store. There's a line all around the block on that store, and basically they make most of their money selling the merchandising, like the shirts and all the that stuff. The bling or swag.
You'd have to get a Chum Lee shirt.
Yeah. He said it's huge. I mean, he said you can't even get. He just left like 2 years ago, and he said you couldn't even get in there.
All right. Well, another reason you might want to go to Nevada in the future here is that the head of the state medical marijuana program out there, pending local approval, says that medical marijuana dispensaries could open early in 2015. The state has yet to grant licenses, and says yesterday marked the last day Nevada medical marijuana businesses could drop off applications. It says roughly 370 people applied, and out of that, 66 will be chosen. So there you go, 66 dispensary licenses potentially to be issued out in Nevada, potentially opening stores up early in 2015.
Vegas is for thrill seekers. I mean, they allow for easy marriage and gambling and prostitution. So I mean, it's basically they encourage risk taking.
Yeah. Well, there you go. If you're a Vegas fan, you might have a little bit more relaxing, enjoyable time in Vegas in the future. So, all right. Let's see if there's any other news out there before I let you guys go. Let's see. Did you guys see the son of Jackie Chan was arrested for pot in Beijing? It's kind of interesting. Hopefully he doesn't get killed because of it. I'm sure that cannabis possession in Beijing is not a good thing.
No, but I think that even the hardline Chinese communists now are going to become more open to, like, say, greasing their palm and stuff like that. So.
It says here, maybe Jackie Chan could send him some money, but at any rate, he faces anywhere from 3 years to death. So kind of a range there of penalties. I don't mean to make light of the poor guy's situation, but man, that's terrible. You think, really, you put somebody to death just for having possession of pot? It's not like they caught him coming into the country with loads of children or something terrible.
Yeah,
anyway.
or prostitution, but hey, those things are permissible. I mean, but.
Yeah. Well, J.C. Chan, that's his name, son of Jackie Chan. So hopefully, best of luck to J.C. Hopefully, he's able to get out of that situation without having to pay for it with his life. Good grief. All right. Other story I want to share with you. This is interesting. Miami Democrats want to legalize recreational cannabis in Florida. Kind of jumping ahead of the ballot question there. As you well know, Florida citizens this November will take to the polls and decide whether or not medical marijuana will be available. But this one here is kind of a jump in the gun. Miami-Dade Democrats have a new chairman, and one hot button issue has got one of the strongest positions in the state. It says here he's currently a senator. Senator Dwight Bullard thinks marijuana should be legal, not just for medical purposes, but for recreational use. It says here, marijuana, whether medical or recreational, could be another way of generating revenue in Florida. It has potential for real positive economic impact with small business growth. So looks like he's got his eye right on the ball there.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how politicians approach things? You and I say, does it do any harm? They say, can we get money out of it?
Yeah.
Then they're accusatory against the real legitimate business person,
right,
who actually has to offer goods or service and have to do that on a regular basis and keep going. Yeah. But politicians could BS their way and get reelected.
Unfortunately, that's the way it works, John. Money makes the world go round, and politicians are a part of that process, and there ain't no doubt about it. But yeah, I mean, at least you've got a politician here who's willing to look at it from some sort of common sense standpoint. you know, he's a big wig. Obviously, he's from the Miami-Dade area. It's one of the most populated areas in Florida, obviously. And he's a senator, so, you know, he can pull his weight. And he's stepping up and he's saying, hey, look, it only makes sense. And, you know, it could have an impact, which is an impact on an area which is greatly needed. So it looks like Michigan's not the only place that needs to continue to improve its economy. And, you know, maybe the marijuana market in Michigan will be able to become a, you know, more of a player, if you will, than it currently is. And you have to take into account what it already is doing. I was just reading an article the other day in relation to LARA's new proposed rule changes. Looks like they're throwing up a couple new things for patients and caregivers here in Michigan. They haven't done it yet. It hasn't been officially changed yet, but they are considering some changes to the rules. One of them is considering the application fee. You know, currently right now, patients and caregivers, well, actually patients, pay $100 to be registered for 2 years into the program. Now, they currently offer a discount to people that are on disability, and the fee for that is $25. So in order to cover the cost of getting someone enrolled, that's what the state's charged. Albeit that is an enormous amount of profit for the state. They need nearly that much money. And last year, they made over $13 million from the fees that were assessed from these charges. So, and I think the cost to conduct the program was somewhere along the lines of like 4 million or 6 million. So it's significantly less than the amount of the program that was taken in. So at any rate, they're looking at changing the fee to $60 for the future, but they're not going to give the discount any longer. So that's what they're talking about doing. They haven't done it yet, but it looks like that could potentially be the new standard here in Michigan. Still to be a 2-year program, but the fee would be reduced, more in line with the actual cost of what the state is incurring from the program. But at any rate, you know, the state's amassed a large amount of money from just fees, entry fees into the medical marijuana program. We're talking, you know, $20 million that they've assessed over the 5-year period, maybe more, and that's profit. That's not total, that's profit. And if they were actually, you know, trying to assess a sales tax on this, or maybe be more cooperative towards businesses that are related to medical marijuana here in Michigan, you know, the taxes on that, and so on and so forth, this could be easily a $100 million revenue generator for the state already. And that's annually. And we're not even tapping into that yet. So this person down here in Florida, this senator, I think he's got his eye where it needs to be. I think he's got his common sense hat on, which is rare in government, of course. And, you know, I'd like to see, obviously, more of that here in Michigan. And I think that some politicians are waking up to it. We do have some people out there that are recognizing the benefits and the potential of this. But we have a lot of people out there that are still, you know, stuck back in the old ways and still believing the paranoia. So
look, you got that money coming in from that kind of the licensing of procedures like that. Then you eliminate the punishment and the cost for enforcement. You got a huge surplus then. Eventually, you're gonna have a damn good surplus.
Absolutely. So it's all around a positive thing. Even though they continue to try to juggle the program here in Michigan, we're still seeing positive results from it constantly. And I think that it's just going to continue to grow. I really do. All right, that's most of the news that I had for you guys this week. I don't have a whole lot else to share. Just wanted to remind you about the events that are coming up. Definitely want to see you guys take part of that. And thanks again to Mitchell for calling in earlier on the show. Definitely like featuring your music. We're going to play that song for you one more time going out today so you guys can have another chance to check it out. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more clear this time. You can actually listen to it. If you want to listen to it for yourself, just go to YouTube, type in Mary Jane is a Friend. Pretty simple. Mary Jane, 2 words. And it's pretty cool. His YouTube channel, Mitchell's YouTube channel, Sparkle Drive 01. You can check that out. And like I said, hey, if there's other musicians out there listening to the show, let's get your stuff featured. Just let us know. You can call into the studio anytime, not just while we're broadcasting, and we'll see what we can do to get you lined up. Again, thanks for joining me this week on the Genesee County Compassion Club show. John, thanks for being in the studio with me here at Flint Talk Radio, and we'll see you guys here next week on the show. You guys have a great week and take care.